ready to go. As you can see, the cars are there on the grid, and we have the red flag out until the marshals give us a go signal. They're checking everything, and then we'll get a green flag from the back, and then we will start going racing here. We're going to be waiting for the 5 lights to go out, and when they do, well, that's what they call it. It's a race is on.
So we have up first the Road of Promotional class, and this also includes the celebrity class. So it is a massive, wonderful grid to start with.
Yes, so big news up here is, well, Troy Montero won his first race since he started out last year. He was a newbie. He took a little while to get his groove, but now he's on top of the grid. So Fabio Ide has got serious competition, but you'll watch. I'm sure you'll see the likes of Aubrey, and we may even get a few surprises from Sam Milby. You said he's got some experience in two wheels. And they're off. Let's get a wide view of that if we can as they come on to the first corner. They're all down the main straight. They're 5 cars abreast in some areas, 4 to 5 cars abreast, and we all know in basic math that won't fit into turn number 1. So will there be any dramas as they funnel through into turn number 1, coming down the corkscrew here into Clark International Speedway? Who's going to gain the advantage? Kind of hard for us to see here, Gab, with our monitors. Hard to see the numbers of the cars, so I can't exactly see who's up there in first place. Maybe if we get a zoom
You know
in.
what? I'm assuming it's Daryl Garbs. I know it was a reverse grid a while ago, so he was starting in pole. And from what it seemed from the takeoff, he had a very good takeoff. Clive Furman, first and second, had a very good takeoff, and the rest was just side by side.
And we come out of turn number 1 with no incidents, which is quite unusual. I think maybe they got that out of the way yesterday, and now everybody's sort of shaking off the rust from the off season, and it looks pretty good there. It's Clive Furman there that we're watching on our screens.
So Clive Furman, he started actually in second, and now he's all the way at the top. Let's see if he gets that fresh air and really takes advantage of not having anyone in front of him and touching his racing line.
The only advantage I think we have right now from not seeing the first race, which happened yesterday, is some of them would have already had a chance to shake off that rust. Remember, an off-season, how much does, even if you're an experienced driver, do you get rust in a few months? What they call track rust?
You know what? It's like a bike. You know the track, you can see the track, but the beauty about racing is it's not just about that. It changes. There's no day that it is the same for you when it's racing. May it be the weather, may it be the track elements, may there be more debris, a little more sandy, a little more humid, and that really plays to how your car maneuvers or how your car works. It might be hotter today, so the tires may be a lot stickier, or it might be, there's so much elements and so much things that come into play that even though you're here every weekend, it could be a totally different feeling.
Absolutely.
The weekend after.
Good points there. And of course, every time you're surrounded by different cars and people breathing down your neck or just right there in your bumper, it's a lot to think about here. We're coming into the final curve here. This is the last turn, one of the most high-speed corners that we have in Clark. Would it be the most high-speed? It is, I think.
Yes, definitely. And one of the most important turns because it leads off to a straightaway. And yeah, pretty much that turn, that last kink over there, you take that flat out.
Yes, and you should take it flat out and have your car very well balanced.
Ballsy.
So we got from second and third place, seems to be a nice little, we could see a potential fight brewing over there in second and third, although the gap has just opened up as I said that. Clive Furman seems to be in control of this race right now. That's car number 50 from Toyota Cebu. Had a good start, got the lead, and is keeping it and protecting it very well. He seems to build up a little bit of a buffer, but he's not out of the woods yet. Gab, this is still, he would want to get a little bit more air in between him.
Definitely, one quick mistake and whoever's right behind you, which 76. I'm assuming is Daryl Garbs.
There we go.
Daryl Garbs, I've seen him race since last year. He's getting so much better. He's more focused, he's more confident with his car, and it could definitely be seen right over here.
There you go. So, and in third place, if we can get a little bit of a closer view, that's car number 90, is it?
Number 90 is Elysse.
Wow.
She finished third a while ago, and third yesterday, and she is doing really good. There actually are 6 female drivers in this promotional class, which is amazing.
So Elysse is the newest driver for the Obengers. She's also the first female driver for the Obengers, if I'm not mistaken, or was does my memory serve me correctly? Our first driver for the female
Yes.
driver for the Obengers.
I think so. Yes.
Obengers, of course, being the probably the most dominant team we've had here in. If you think about it, they've won already. They've won the first round, first championship with
Yes, and especially last year. I mean, they were dominating when. Well, last year was the first constructors championship, right?
Yes, so
Yeah,
Miranda.
they opened it up, and yeah, Daniel definitely dominated the super sporting class, and a lot of them did really well. Mark Sung got his podium last year.
He got
which
his
is
podium.
So exciting.
You learn the basics here. You cut your teeth here. What's particularly important about the Vios Cup that everyone asks me, why the Vios Cup? And surely there are more powerful cars that we could race out there. It's not about that. It's about equal machinery. These cars you'd be very surprised if you've never driven a Vios Cup car. You'd be very surprised at what they're capable of. Once these cars are set up and dialed into the racetrack, my goodness, you would be like, this is a very good handling car.
Yes.
And more importantly, the crucial thing is you're all in the same equipment. So this is where driver skill really starts to shine. So if you're looking for a series to bring out the best in a driver, you can't get better than this. This is as level a playing field as it gets.
Yeah, and it's wonderful how the TRS program has helped also developing the drivers. So it's a wonderful start. If any of you want to try out racing, this is it.
But rules are rules, and they stripped him. And heartbreaking, but those are the rules. It wasn't anything personal. It's just like that's it.
Yeah, that's
and
racing.
instead of sulking, he came back and he won the next race.
Yes, that was that really shows character.
Yeah. Oh, I think we had a little pass over there on turn number 1. I think we swapped places in turn number 1 there for second and third.
So first, obviously, is Clive Furman, who's been dominating the race. Now, for second and third, that is Daryl Garbs and Elysse.
It was, at least.
Elysse was third, so if there was a swap, that would have been Elysse that brings her to second. This girl has a lot of potential. It's her first year this year,
Well, let's
and
check first
she's
if
already
that's-
dominating.
No,
Pretty
76,
much.
it's still Garbs.
Okay, so it's still Garbs, but they're neck and neck between each other. So it's gonna be fun.
Apologies for this if it does sound a little big. It's just once we get the official timing back, we'll be able to give you the exact rundown of the drivers. But right now we're just relying on visuals, on numbers, and when it's zoomed out, of course, we won't be able to read the numbers there. But that is definitely Clive Furman in car number 50 that you see on your screens, followed by Daryl Garbs in car 76, and then number 90 is Elysse Menorca from the Obengers. And as Gab has said, she has come out all guns blazing in this racetrack right now, and in third place in her first race weekend for the race for the Obengers. This is really
Definitely way to make your mark.
good. We also had the Obengers were having a hard time yesterday with some of their team, like they had Estefano Rivera, who he accidentally called out the wrong team on stage. Apologies for that. There was a misprint in the thing. I should have known. But Rivera had a camber issue, and he was DQ'd. And then after being DQ'd, they fixed the camber issue, and he ended up in second place. And when they pulled into Parc Fermé, there might have been another issue as well. I don't know how that ended up for Stefano Rivera, but that just goes to show you how strict they really are here at the Vios Cup.
All right, so there we have it. Clive Furman still dominating. All right, and Daryl Garbs actually gaining a bit of ground. Now we have Elysse, and now the fight is brewing between fourth place, which is hopefully we can see that on the screen right about now. If the cameras could zoom in a little bit. Okay, now we get into turn 1. Okay, what's beautiful about turn 1 is that there's so many ways. There's so many ways on how to take on this turn. You could go fast in, take a mid apex, hug out the turn. and you see the different styles of driving when you come into this, which brings you to a tight corkscrew. More than more than the first time two seasons ago.
Absolutely. Okay, here we are down the main straight of the Clark International Speedway. One of the longer straights, not just in the country. It is the longest straight in the country for a racetrack, but one, it's still very long by international standards. It's over 1 kilometer long, and you really top. Oh, we had a little bit of contact there. You do top out in about. You will top out almost in fourth gear towards the end there, and your speeds are almost about 180, I think, if I'm not mistaken, in the Vios Cup
Yes,
car.
I think something like that. And the beauty of that, you're coming to an uphill left-hander, so you really have to carry out that speed. But what's good about it also, when you're uphill, the
Your
traction
brakes.
is, yes, your traction is all the way at the front part of the car, so the turning gets a lot better. So, but you have to make sure that you don't, overdo it.
You have physics on your side, basically.
Definitely.
Because you don't want to, put all of that strain in your brakes. But you know what? These cars are running on Brembos, and they've been flawless in the last 5 seasons. So
Yes.
they do run very, very well. They brake very well. They've just got great balance. I love the way these cars are set up for this track, and TRD help us out with that as well.
Mm-hmm.
They give us all the goodies to get. Okay, now we're totally zoomed out. That's a nice shot.
That's a nice shot of the track. As you can see, a lot of people don't really get to see the out part of the track. It actually is very technical. There are a lot of elevations over here that you can't exactly see when it's zoomed in.
Or from aerial. Yeah.
Yes, from aerial.
You can't really see those. The elevation, especially on turn number 1. Also, a lot of things that you don't see here is they're all late apex corners, aren't they?
Yes, they're mostly all late apex corners.
You can take the normal apex, but you'll find yourself a little bit offline.
And especially, with these front wheel drive cars, you really have to base it off of how they move. And these cars, like what you were saying a while ago, they're very stable. I think this would be the 4th turn.
That looks like
Sure.
that looks like the last turn. It's
Okay,
the last
turn.
double A.
Okay. Well, if you really get technical on things, that is the most important
Yes.
turn right before, because the last turn is a flat out turn. So it's just as long as you get your line right, which gives you the second to the last turn gives you more than enough time to do so. This will determine how fast you will be at the end.
Yes, and it's very, very frustrating because any little mistake that you make there, you can see in front of your eyes you're paying for it. You can see yourself paying for it because you see that car inching forward, and you're like, what on earth is going on? What has he got, some kind of
turbo or nitrous hidden?
No,
hidden
he just had a
button
better
over there.
exit, and
Yes.
and that's where it gets very, very frustrating. But it does teach you discipline, like Gab was mentioning earlier on. And in racing, it really is not just like in any sport, but especially in racing, it's all about discipline. You have to be in control, because power without control is complete chaos. Just take a look at government.
Very wise. Very wise. No, but yeah.
Look at the gap from above there. That's first, second, and third that we're looking at. Clive Furman in top place there. That's still Daryl Garbs in second place, and Elysse in third place. So that gap has pretty been consistent since lap number 1. We saw a small chance of an attack there between second and third, but nothing really stuck there. Elysse is still back there in third place. We look like there might be some action coming up into Acacia there from looking at that view.
Yes.
There looks like they'll be side by
somewhere
side.
mid-grid. Okay, he took it inside, but I think he gave it back to the person in front of him.
That is what they call Acacia because of that beautiful tree over there, which sits almost on the apex of that turn. It's a beautiful corner because you're coming down it's the second fastest part of the track, and you have to come down hard into second gear for that corner.
Yes,
so it's a great passing opportunity.
Left-hander. It's almost 90 degrees.
Yes.
You really need your brakes. That's where Brembo comes in. Thank you very much, Brembo.
And that's also where one of the best and most popular passing opportunities is there. Although we've seen some very creative passing opportunities in our time. Places where you thought you just couldn't pass.
Yeah, you know what? And that's what I actually love about the Vios Cup. anything can happen, not just with the weather, but also with the racing strategies as well.
Yeah, so don't get too comfortable if it looks like Clive Furman has got this all wrapped and sealed. We also don't have our lap timers here with us. Unfortunately, that's still being fixed up, so we can't give you the exact lap there. But these guys are... It looks like it's getting a little bit closer. Look at that second place. Look at that.
You know what? Yes,
Daryl Garbs is within striking distance now, Gab. That looks like a...
You know, that's the perfect example of what we were talking about a while ago. You know, that started with the second to the last turn, and all that gap that he had is gone just because of that second to the last turn, and now Daryl Garbs is right behind
And the
him.
one we should also be watching, Bobby Pangilinan and JJ Barredo, are also, looks like they'll be embroiled in a battle soon. They're very, very close. Clive has pulled out a little bit. He's put a little bit of a buffer between himself and Daryl Garbs in second place. But Garbs is really letting him know, I'm here. So just don't, any mistake you do now, you'll pay for it dearly, and it'll cost you position most likely, because that is just, it looks far, but at the speeds that they're going at, which is very, you can't really appreciate it from the camera, they are going very fast. So, you know, while it looks far in terms of, you know, land space in between them, one mistake, one misshift, and that gap will just shrink. If he makes a mistake and misses the breaking point, that could be a cost of place.
That's it, yeah. And you know, these drivers know, they know that patience is part of the program, and you get to analyze, especially the beauty of like staying behind someone. You get to analyze which turns you are faster, which turns are at a disadvantage, and it's you know, especially when you're this close in terms of lap times. That's when you kind of need to dissect. It's a little bit like chess, in a sense, and you know, waiting for the perfect move like a piranha, you know.
Yeah, and that's what I really appreciate. We're seeing a little bit of it here, but you'll really see a lot more of it in this Bridgestone Super or the Toyota Super Sporting class, should I say? Because this is where you can really appreciate racing. It's about setting up your opponent. So sometimes you can see it from like 4 corners back. Oh, he's doing this to get that result, and they don't get greedy. They're patient. People like Alan Oy do that very well.
Oh yes, well Alan, you know, he has a very good background from him. You know, he started with karting. You know, he was pretty dominant during that discipline, and moving that into cars. You have not just your skill, but your mental capacity in racing is on point. Another thing that I want to talk to with the viewers is it's a very mental game. When you're there at top speeds, you know, there's no second guessing yourself. You know, a split second or a quick hesitation could be it for your race.
Yeah, so you're really thinking at about 180 kilometers an hour. That's you have to learn how to multitask.
that literally 180 kilometers an hour at this heat. You know, it might be. Yesterday it was around 36 degrees, but when you're at the track in a 3-piece layer suit,
fireproof.
Oh my God, fireproof! You are sweating like crazy. I actually watched an episode of the Mythbusters.
Okay.
And they got the myth wherein you lose up to, actually even more than 10 pounds in a race.
I was also about 14 was about the most I heard of, and that's like in Formula 1 level already. It's about 14 pounds that they lose.
Yeah,
and remember, when you talk about Formula 1, these guys weigh like 130 pounds. You know, these are not heavy people. That's like 10% of your body weight.
That is true.
The average weight, I would say, of a Formula 1 driver would be about 145 to 155.
Yes.
Just basing it on like fighters and what fighters look like at that size.
Yeah, you have to be that lean, because weight also is a matter with cars. Lightening is the most important thing, and definitely if you're like 6'2", 6'8", or like a basketball player, right?
Yeah.
So there aren't a lot of tall racers. Actually, the sweet spot, that's why Asians, Filipinos have a big advantage to that, are the mid-range, 5'5", 5'6", 5'8".
Yeah, you look at people like Marlon Stockinger
Yes.
and
Tyson C.
Although Tyson's bulked up now.
He's bulked up, but that's seriously with Tyson, that is pure muscle.
Yes. He really. I remember when he was racing in the Formula Series, and he was just a really skinny kid. Now he's buff and all that, but he's already racing. He'll be. He's also part of the Vios Cup as well. He's been our safety car driver for so long.
Yeah, and I believe he's also he's been mentoring. He's been teaching.
He's been mentoring. He's been doing a great job with, and teaching and mentoring some of our drivers. And we're always privileged to have such a great pool of talent here. We've got the Ramirez brothers that have been giving us their talents, and that's basically we have Louis, we have Miguel.
Wisdom, yes,
a lot of wisdom.
A lot of wisdom. You know what? I was actually mentored by one of the brothers. Sadly, he's passed away.
Cookie, everyone remembers
yes,
Cookie and Cookie's school, and Cookie mentored some of the best here. I mean, he will always be remembered fondly. Lives in all of our hearts.
Oh yes, definitely.
We have Sofia Andres. Okay, we haven't even really had a chance. This is the first time we've seen our celebrity drivers on the screen. Sofia Andres is that's car number 7. That's not 7th place.
Okay, she looks really comfortable over there. Sad to say, we don't have her time, so we do not know where she is on standing. But the celebrity drivers. You have to give, you have to actually tip your hats to the new celebrity drivers because they haven't had much time in these cars. Take note, this is the first time that they're racing. They only, I think, have had one practice session before, like a set of practice sessions before this.
Yes.
Which was like, I think, a couple of weeks ago. So this is a lot of familiarization with them, not just with like learning the car, but learning the track in itself.
Yes, and we would love to be able to get a little bit more of a view of the celebrity cars or celebrity drivers. We haven't really seen much of them in this race, but Troy Montero was leading the race. In the beginning, we don't know. We haven't seen any footage yet, so we can't tell exactly where they are until our timing screens are installed, so that we can just tell you where they are in terms of placing. Because once these are 2 grids, if people are a little bit confused about how this is set up, we are running 2 races in 1 grid right now. So whoever's in first place, like somebody could actually be in 7th place, but is actually in first. That's only because, let's say, Troy is overall. We don't know where he is right now, but if we can say if Troy's overall in 5th place, he is still running first for his class.
Yes, I really have to congratulate Troy on this. He only started last year, and he didn't start at the beginning of last year. I think he started on the second leg of last year, and not only did he win for his class, which is the celebrity class, yesterday. He bagged 2nd overall, so that is definitely a big feat, Also with his wife, Aubrey Miles, I was talking to her a lot last year, and her fear with the car, like her frustration with everything, but everything seems to be going well with her. She didn't get a podium, but she was in 4th, which is, we have a lot of celebrities that this year, so it's like the mid-grid, which is wonderful.
Yes, it is. And look, there we have Sofia Andres, speaking of the celebrity drivers.
So it looks like, it looks like she may have had, it's hot. Definitely. We were just talking about that a while ago. And if you don't hydrate, things like that could happen. And when you're at the track with these cars, it's very different from practicing, because you're practicing, you're just thinking about yourself, you're just thinking about your time, you're just thinking about being faster. But being side by side with other cars where everything is unexpected, you don't know how they'll react. And this isn't like EDSA wherein you're going straight or something. These people know how to get within a millimeter beside you, and that can get scary.
What's different about that in EDSA? The jeepneys are getting a lot closer than the millimeter. Sometimes they just get,
Well, that is true. That is
right
true.
alongside, scrape you and everything.
A bit of practice in EDSA, pre-practice before the race. But yeah, heat conditions like this could really get someone.
Absolutely. We saw one of our races last year, celebrity races as well. She also had a really hard time. Also
Ella Cruz.
Ella Cruz, that's right. And broke down in tears because it can be so physically and mentally exhausting.
Yeah, hers was a slightly different situation. She had a bad accident or like a bad spin, which really cost her the race, and it was just very, very frustrating for her and scary.
Yeah,
also,
scary. And
at
there
the
was
same time.
this one year where she
All
came
right.
out dehydrated.
And we just have to say that Elysse has finally overtook, and she lands a spot in number 2. Congratulations, Elysse. And I'm assuming this is near the tail end of the race. We have 12 laps, I believe, right?
We have 12 laps.
We have 12
and
laps.
And it looks like a
and
battle brewing there as well, down the corkscrew.
Yep. It might be the last few laps. We do not exactly know until we have our stats. But, people seem to be a lot more aggressive now, which means it's nearing the checkered flag, ladies and gentlemen.
Here we go. Clive Furman in the lead of this race. Behind him is car number 90. That is Elysse. In second place, Menorca from the Obengers. Oh my gosh, she looks like she's mounting a challenge.
She definitely is mounting a challenge.
And it's do or die now because it's the last few dying breaths of the race. So if she's going to make a move, let's do it now and make it stick. And if she wins this race, they will be partying at the Obengers. I tell you what, and what a weekend because it is the opening of the Avengers, the biggest box office success in Philippine movie history.
I haven't seen it. Everyone was like, okay, are you
I'll tell you what happens. Okay, I'm going to tell you exactly what happens.
Okay, and guys, you're going to tell the rest of the world.
Yeah, I think people. This gap, we've got Elysse Menorca side by side with Clive Furman. She's on the inside. She's going to do this.
Oh wow. Okay, let us see if he gives in because this is a lot of like back and forth.
But he's got the inside line here. But if she can get the inside line, this is the last few curves.
Oh God, this turns into the corkscrew. Let's see. It gets a bit tricky over here. There's not a lot of passing room when you get to the corkscrew.
This is where it's going to be. It's like a really tight S over here.
Man, if he overshoots on entry of the double A, that she could have an opening over there.
Come on!
But let us see. Woo!
We don't want to show any bias for anyone here, but we're biased towards a good race. That's what we are very
definitely
openly biased to.
Okay.
And it doesn't.
Well,
really
it looks like Clive has kept his space. Yes. Okay, we're nearing the last turn.
Let's see if the checkered flag is out or not, because if not, then he's got to go through this all over again.
Okay, and the checkered flag.
Wow.
Congratulations. What a good race. Definitely near the tail end. Congratulations to Elysse. Congratulations to Clive Furman for dominating the race.
Of course, as well,
and
in third
Daryl
place.
Garbs bagging third. Nice, clean race, guys.
And a big thank you goes to Elysse for giving us a real show towards the end there. It was one of those races, Gab, that you would call pretty straightforward, wouldn't you?
Definitely.
It wasn't. It wasn't. But look at this. This is where it all happened. She jumped on the inside. Had this just bit, but Clive was very clever about this whole thing. Clive kept his position.
I have to say it also to Daryl Garbs. He was right there, just that small opening, and he would have dove in through too.
That's normally where it would cost you. You go for first, and then you end up in third.
Yeah, usually those three-way battles, you just look at the person behind you or the person in front. You don't realize that someone's way at the back, just waiting for you guys to dice it out, and yeah.
And this is where Clive gets quite clever, is because you don't panic, because you have to think 3 or 4 corners ahead. Yes, Elysse did overtake him technically, but he knew that in a couple of corners up he would have the inside line, so all he had to do was just be there side by side with her. It was all about who gets the inside or advantage line towards the last curve, and that was a curve that was a sweeper, so it was pretty hard. I mean, if you stayed out over there, you definitely would have lost a lot of time. Exactly. So had he panicked over there and tried to defend at all costs, it probably would have cost him the race. But in the end, showing a little bit of experience there. But thank you, Elysse, for putting on a show for us. That gave us something to really, really get excited about.
Oh yes,
it was
definitely.
very close.
Much appreciated. And I give you the rundown. At first is Clive Furman. Second is Elysse Menorca. Third is Daryl Garbs. At fourth is JJ Barrero. And fifth, Bobby Pangilinan. Congratulations to our top 5.